how dare you being late, the third fastest 110-meter high hurdle time of all. I mean,
Hey, I run fast, but I do a lot of other things very, very slow. So getting back from training is one of those. Thanks for having me, Eddie.
so when you say training right now, what are you training? Like, are you, is it for football? Is it for track?
I'm doing track stuff right now. So I just ran in New York 2 days ago, and I spent the day yesterday traveling to Oslo, Norway, because I have a competition here on Thursday. But yeah, so I fell asleep and kind of slept during the day. With the jet lag thing, my go-to is to just sleep when I'm tired. So I woke up around 6:30, and I was like, oh, I gotta go train. So got on the bus and did that, and then I'm back from there.
Where would you train in Oslo?
Just at the practice track. I did like a light little shakeout, just moving around. Not too
Do,
much. I didn't really do any hurdle stuff. I just kind of warmed up.
do you have a coach that travels with you?
Sometimes my coach Jamie Cook travels with me, but he didn't come on this trip. He has some stuff going on.
So,
Just back home.
so you got to do it all by yourself then.
Yeah, but I'm 27 years old now. I think I can handle it. I'm an adult.
I know, but from my days of running, I needed somebody to push me all the time. I mean,
it's always nice to have them around, but I don't necessarily need them. Worst cases, I can handle most everything on my own.
Are you on a track club, or do you just run by yourself independently?
Independently, I think technically I'm sponsored by Nike, so when my name pops up on the meet sheet, it'll be like Devon Allen Nike. But everything I do is just me and my coach and my support staff, my manager, my physical therapist, and stuff like that.
So when you go to the Eagles, are you automatically a Nike athlete at the Eagles?
I would assume so.
That's pretty cool.
I think that whole umbrella of sponsorship would hopefully play into football as well. I don't see why it wouldn't.
That's got to be pretty cool. Like, you were at Oregon, Nike's around there. They're like in the town, aren't they? Same town?
Yeah. So U of O is in Eugene, actually where Nike originated, but Nike headquarters is just about an hour and 45 minutes north in Portland.
Okay. Did you ever meet Ryan Fisher? Or I'm sorry, Ryan Flaherty.
Fisher.
Ryan Flaherty.
Oh yeah, I know Ryan Flaherty well.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
me
Good,
and Ryan Flaherty are close. He actually wrote some of my program that I still do in terms of my training and weightlifting and stuff like that. I actually met him 2017 or 2018, and he does some really good things. So he's awesome.
Yeah, he's a genius. I've had him on the show a bunch of times. I just talked to him the other day, and
awesome.
He's such a good guy and so knowledgeable. Like, back in the day when I ran track, nobody knew anything. You would get what's his name from Canada, Charlie Francis's like Bible, and that was all you had for like extracurricular stuff. But now there's just so much information, and what I'm wondering, like a guy like you that is, you're the best of the best. Are you writing the stuff yourself, or like where are you collecting information to like get yourself faster? How do you do it?
Yeah, so I think you're pretty spot on in terms of the data available now is incredible in terms of we can just Google or YouTube pretty much anything you want to find out. But I keep track of my programming pretty well, and writing down notes and stuff like that. But I think it's a mixture of what my coach's knowledge. My coach has been coaching for over 20 years now. And at a high level, he coached at Penn to start and then coached at U of O for 8 years or 7 years. And then now he's the head coach of the Naval Academy. And with that being said, and as an athlete, you learn from other athletes, from other coaches, and coaches do the same as well, right? Like, my coach, Coach Cook, and even Ryan Flaherty, took some knowledge and some data from other places and put it into their program and kind of practice what works. And why, me and my coach, Coach Cook, mesh so well is we kind of found the magic formula in terms of like what makes me a great athlete, and then doing that and then also improving on that, right? Like, so me being a great athlete, especially hurdler, is me being explosive and strong and fast. So let's be explosive, let's be strong, let's be fast, and just amplify all that stuff. And then, on top of that, also listening to your body. Not that I'm old, but I'm more like seasoned and more veteran. So I understand like, rest is really important. And just kind of taking some time off. I mean, I had COVID 15 days ago now, and I took about 7 or 8 days off. And my coach was like, "Hey, this is actually going to be good. I mean, it's not good that I had COVID, because I was sick for a few days, but it's going to be good for your body to just rest because we've been pounding it hard. I've been in Philly doing off-season training, doing football stuff, lifting, running around, and then on my off days, from football, I was training on the track, so I was pretty much 6, 7 days a week, and so to get a week off and then to kind of ramp back up the last week, obviously it paid off because I ran 1284.
It's amazing that you did that. That makes a lot of sense though, with like the just resting your body like that and coming in totally rested. That's awesome though.
For sure.
Did you did you lose any weight during COVID at all?
No, I didn't lose any weight.
I was curious.
Nothing substantial, maybe like a pound or two. I mean, I think I was sick for maybe about 36 hours.
Yeah, that was me too.
Just like fever and stuff like that. And then I started feeling better. I had some really weird, like lymph node back pain. Where your lymph node.
I had that too. I had that too. It was like, so weird.
What the first day. So I think I had COVID on Saturday or Friday because my back was really bothering me, and then Sunday is when I got a fever. And then like that day, Sunday and Monday, I like couldn't walk. My back was hurting so bad.
It was like a piercing back pain right above, like right at the waistline, just like
same thing.
Right, just like someone had like stuck a knife in there, kind of thing, right in the spine. And I was like, this is some weird virus that everybody's getting this weird little pain right here. Like that's what I don't want to get into conspiracy theories or anything, but as soon as I got that pain, I was like, this is definitely engineered. Like this was a created virus, like the way it's like affecting this spot right here. But
my physio therapist, Anna Hartman, I work with, and I work with the guy in Annapolis where I trained named Kyle Atwell, and they were just they're really in tuned to the nervous system, right? And like our nervous system stem, right, like it starts at the brain through the neck and then it kind of spreads out through that like area, the pelvis, the low back, which is why if anybody ever like slaps you on the low back, it stings really bad because there's a lot of like sensory nerves there. And with all the nerve endings, there's a lot of like lymph fluid and stuff going through there because you got to keep those sheaths of nerve moving. And I think that just gets inflamed with the virus, and literally you're putting so much pressure on those nerves. It feels like a knife, right? Yeah. So that's what they explained to me, and I was like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense because that's what it feels like. Like you said, I was laying in bed, like trying to fall asleep, and I was like, I can only fall asleep in this position. Like this is the only position that doesn't hurt.
Yeah, it was a weird thing. Forgive me for nerding out, but like I have a little bit of a background. I ran some college hurdles, and I'm just a huge fan of yours. So it's rare that a comedian cares about hurdles. But I am not the fastest hurdling comedian in the world. I'm not even the fastest comedian hurdler from the University of Pittsburgh. There was a guy before me named Mario Joyner, who is a famous comedian. He tours with Seinfeld, and he had better times than me. But he ran at the same time as Roger Kingdom. So Roger Kingdom, you're from Arizona, correct?
Yep. I know Roger Kingdom well.
I was just going to say, because he was coaching at the Arizona Cardinals. He was strength coach.
He was speed and conditioning. Yeah, strength and conditioning. Yep.
So did you get to work with him at all when you were down there? Because you were a standout in high school.
No. Yeah. I mean, I was a good athlete in high school, but no, I never worked with him. Obviously, there's like a mutual respect because he's a two-time Olympic champ. Takes a lot. It doesn't matter how fast you run, and he's run 12 seconds as well. So he's a great athlete. Played football in college too, and so I think there's like a mutual respect there. I know of him, and we've briefly chatted once or twice, and so it is kind of cool. I mean, like those guys, Ronaldo Nehemiah texted me after I ran 1284.
That's awesome. That's
pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
Alan Johnson texted my coach like within 10 seconds of the race. He said, I talked to my coach. He's like, yeah, Alan Johnson's the first person to text me. I was like, that's pretty cool. Like some of the best hurdlers in the history of the sport. So like, tuned in on this.
Yeah. So in high school, did you know that you were, I mean, what'd you run in high school? You were like a 13.8 or
13.4.
13.4. And that's pretty much in high school. That's
Pretty good.
as good as you're going to get. So did you know that you had this potential and you were like, I'm going to keep this up? Or were you like football, football, football?
I know I was going to be good at track. I was mostly a sprinter until my junior year in high school. So I did the 100, 200, 400, and I ran 10.4 and 20.7 in high school.
That's
Right.
pretty
So
fast.
that's pretty
That
quick.
200 time is fast.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So um, my coach in high school, Tim O'Neill, was like, hey, like the hurdles are kind of like soft in Arizona. Like there's not many people doing it. Like I think you could just go out there and kind of show up and win. And that's kind of what I did. I trained for a year. My junior year, my first race of the year, I broke the Arizona State record in the 110s. And I ran like 13.62 or something like that. So, um, yeah, but I knew I had some potential then, right? Like, cause I was so raw. And it's funny because I look back at my career, and I've run 1284 now, and I think I probably could have run that you know earlier in my career just because my body hasn't really changed much. It's just it has to click. But I ran 13.1 as a 19-year-old, like 3 years from 3 years from starting to hurdle. Right, I started hurdling when I was 16, and so like 3 years. So I would argue to say that's the quickest that anybody's ever run. Learning to hurdle to
so
13.
it didn't, it wasn't a big deal to you at all moving up to the, to the 3 inches from high school to college.
It's a little bit of a learning curve, but I think the biggest thing is you have to understand just like what the goal is in hurdles, and the goal is to be on the ground and run as fast as you can in between. And the air part is part of it. You jump, gravity kind of takes you off. So, with the hurdle going higher, you just have to take off like a little bit further, from the hurdle because you want that parabola to be the same, right?
Right.
Coming down on it. So uh, just took a little bit with the timing because obviously when you take off further away, that means you got to be quicker with your feet because you can't be as close. And so I had to figure that out. And then once I figured that out, it was I don't have an issue now,
So
obviously.
I'm going to try to relate it to my experience. I was not super fast, but I think I had a really good hurdle technique.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got to college, I was running a pit and we were a pretty good program. And in my head, I said, well, I'm not fast enough to run with these guys. But I've seen since, because now you can see all the stuff on the internet, I've seen guys with really, really good technique get really far. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like I've seen guys that ran slower hundreds than me that run much faster than me in the 110s. I'm like, oh, they must have much, much better technique. And I was surprised because I thought that's all I was technique. Then I look at someone like you're running pretty much as fast as you can run, and you have the technique that is as good as it gets. You've got to have both of those. And if you had to say which you're better at, the speed or the technique, which one would you say it is?
Definitely speed. I think that's my advantage over the rest of the field. I mean, I think if you just look at it just based on objective track and field, the fastest guys in the world right now in the hurdles are the fastest guys.
Mm-hmm.
Me, Omar McLeod is a 9.9 100-meter runner. He ran 9.9 in 2016. Grant Holloway ran 6.50 and 10.20 in the 100. Trey Cunningham ran 6.60 in the 60. Right, like we're all like I ran 10.1 this year already in early April in the 100. Like we're all legitimate world class sprinters, right? And so I think that's a good place to start. And then once you can get the technique down, then it pretty much clicks. Like you said, the technique is very important, and I think that's where a lot of the upside is for athletes like me and Grant and Trey. Like we can only get so fast because the hurdles are a set distance apart. Like you can literally only get your feet down and move so quickly and be so far from the hurdle. Now the goal is to like, all right, let's get 100th of a second quicker over each hurdle, right? So that's a 10th, right? Like
Yeah.
if I did my race again, right, and I was just joking, and I my start was okay. It's still not like quite where I want it because I went from 8 steps to 7 steps this year, and then I hit a hurdle
for your for
on
your for your takeoff.
for my start. For my
Really?
start, yeah, yeah.
So you
So
run a
yeah, I
seven?
switched that this year.
Wow. And that made a
Yeah.
tremendous difference.
I think for me, the main it's not quite faster to hurdle one, but the good thing about it is with 7 and 8, the goal in hurdling is to accelerate through the hurdle so that you're accelerating for as long as you can in the race, which is why it looks like at the end of the race I'm pulling away. It's because I had accelerated, hurdle 2, hurdle 3, hurdle 4, hurdle 5, hurdle 6, and now I'm holding on, as opposed to, like, if you accelerate super, super early and then you try to hold on for the rest
So
of the
wait,
race.
so you had to change your starting blocks then.
Yeah,
That
flip them.
you couldn't have. It was that weird coming out of the blocks differently with a
It
different
is.
leg.
It is to start, but now I'm pretty comfortable with it. I've been doing it I started doing it in February, so February, March, April, May, June, so 5 months now.
Are
I've been
you a
practicing that.
are you a right leg or left leg lead leg?
Right leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they
So yeah,
when
so
you
that was the biggest thing. I think switching just allowed me to accelerate through hurdle one better, although it's not quite as fast to hurdle one yet. And I think eventually it will be, where I think I can still squeeze out a 500 or a tenth of a second in my start alone.
well you answered my nerdy question, which I was going to ask, which is because there's a limited amount of steps. Like you look at someone like Usain Bolt and his record, he runs less steps than everyone else. And so if he can have that speed going, with those steps, he's obviously going to win. Well, with hurdles, there's a defined number of steps. And I didn't know guys ran, I knew 8 and 9 steps. I didn't know guys can run 7 steps. Is that common or is that just you?
No, that's common now, especially the elite guys. I'd
Wow.
probably say probably 80% or 90% of the best pros are 7-step now. Just like you said, so like Usain Bolt was faster than everybody, one, because he's taller and has longer strides, so he took less steps, and he did it in the same amount of time as everybody else, right? That's the simple equation to being fast, like stride length and how fast your feet move.
Yeah.
And the hurdles is the same thing. If I can get my feet to move, even within a few hundredths or a tenth of a second as fast as 8 steps with 7, and just pull a step out, it's going to be faster, right? Like it's just like it's pretty natural. If you're taking an extra step, it's probably going to take longer. So I think that's one thing I can improve on, just over my career and keep getting better, because obviously Grant Holloway is the best starter in the world, and he's been the best starter in the world for 4 or 5 years now. And there's a lot of good starters as well. And then I was pretty clean in the race in New York, but I did hurdle 5 pretty hard. And there's always opportunity just to get a little bit more clean and to be really a little bit more aggressive off the last hurdle. Not that I wasn't aggressive, because relaxed is fast, but I could squeeze out a few hundreds out of there too, I think.
Well, when I was running, we had a guy named Lee McRae. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He had the world record in the 60, and he had beaten Ben Johnson a bunch of times. He's still on the boards as like one of the fastest times of all. And he played football at Pitt for a little bit. And he had finished. He was on the Olympic team. He was on the 4x100 team. I think he was the alternate. But he had supposedly the fastest start in the world. And I ran against him a few times in like alumni meets, and it was like nothing I've ever seen before, this guy's start.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just freakish. And it was all his start. That's why he was like a 55, 60 guy. And, but like when it came to the 100, he wasn't as fast. But there's rumors, and if you go on the internet and read about it, there's people that say that he ran faster than a 4-second 40-yard dash, and there's no, like, nobody ever taught. You really think so?
I believe it. There's some
Really?
fast people. There's some fast people that have never run like a 40. And I think, like you said, that Lee McRae is probably built for that type of distance.
Sure.
Right. He's so explosive that, like, he just has an advantage at that. Right. And he probably practices that a ton, because that was like like I said earlier,
distance.
like what I was good at is what we practice a lot of, because we want to improve that. I'm sure he did the same thing.
Right. What'd you do at the when you tried out for the Eagles? 4.35 or something?
Yeah, 4.3. Yep. Yeah, which isn't bad, actually. It's fast, but
it's amazing. People always talk about a 4.40, and I'm like, you don't realize how fast that is, and how few people really, really run that. I'm like, that's world class speed. So a 4.35, you're one of the fastest guys in the world. and you're running a 4.35. So when somebody does a 4.2 something, it's like, what just happened?
Exactly. No, I agree. And some of those athletes that run 4.2s, one, they're already fast, world-class speed, and then two, they have really mastered that 40-yard start, right? Which is just a thing that track athletes, we don't do as much.
Right.
Because, especially for me, I'm a hurdler, so it's a lot different than what I do. And then two, the shortest event I do is 100, so it's also a lot different. But yeah, it's so impressive. Like you said, when nothing against high school kids and stuff, because there's plenty of fast high school kids, but like, oh, yeah, I run a 4.4. I'm like, okay, whatever you say.
That's how I've always felt with people talking about different guys and what they're doing with their hurdles or whatever, or their 40 times. Whenever I hear it, I'm just like, no, he doesn't. No, he runs a 4.4. No, he doesn't. And I'm like, you just hear it constantly. Oh, this guy benches blah, blah, blah. And he does I'm like, first of all, he's probably not touching his chest with the bench and extending at the top. And second of all, he's probably not really running a 4.4.
Well, and it's pretty relative. Like, there's no one that runs 4.4 or faster that doesn't run faster than like 10.7 or faster. Like, if you got a kid that says they run 4.4 and their 100 is like 11 flat, like, okay, you're lying. Which 11 flat is great. 11 flat, if you're an 11 flat sprinter in high school, that's great. But you just don't run a 4.4. No offense.
Did you run the 300 or 400 hurdles at all?
I did a little bit in high school and college.
Did you break those records too?
I broke the Arizona State record, and I had it for a bit. And then my training partner actually in high school broke it the next year. He broke my record. But yeah, I didn't really train. I didn't necessarily take to it, especially in high school. The 300 hurdles and the 200 is about 20 minutes apart.
Oh,
so so trying to do both of those was difficult. So I kind of just all right, I'm gonna do the 200. And then in college, with playing football and during track season, we had spring ball and stuff. The amount of volume I could do was difficult, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hurdling 110 hurdles is one thing because it's technical, and then being explosive. Playing football is being an explosive athlete. That's just what it is. But now when you add all that volume to getting better for the 400, you start just pushing the limit of staying healthy and working out. So my coach, as I started getting a little bit older, my sophomore, junior year, he was like, all right, let's just have you focus on the 200 and the 100 and the hurdles, and kind of keep you away from all that volume, just because it doesn't make a lot of sense.
It also being a right leg lead leg. When I got to school,
I left lead legged.
Oh, you did?
In the force, yeah, I do left. I actually learned hurdles with my left leg.
You're ambidextrous.
I am. Yep.
See, when I got to college, they wanted.
My goal was to break the world record with the right foot, and then the next season switch my leg and see how fast I can run with my left foot.
Wow,
that would be cool. That would be a cool thing to do.
That'd be amazing. I found it to be one of the hardest things. They tried to switch me to left they thought I'd be a 400 hurdler, and they didn't realize that I don't like to run farther than 100 meters. I didn't even like the 110s. I wanted it to end at the last hurdle. And they were like, you got to switch to left leg. And I was like, that you guys don't understand how hard the right one was for me. And now you're going to switch me to left. So that's phenomenal that you could do that. When you're talking about all this explosiveness, are you doing a lot of Olympic weightlifting?
Oh, a ton. Yeah. Most of my lifting is Olympic weightlifting. A lot of isometrics, a lot of eccentric, and a lot of I'll do a lot of eccentric and isometric in the beginning of the season to just build up overall strength, and then tendon strength and health. And then as right now, I'm going more towards the plyometric base. I do plyos all year, but now it's even my Olympic weightlifting is way lighter than I would do. If I'm during the season, I'll do a couple doubles of 300 pounds or whatever that for clean. But now I'm not getting anywhere close to that weight because, one, the risk of injury is pretty high. It's just a lot of weight. And two, I'm just trying to move 225 as quickly as possible, right? I'm just trying to create a central nervous system response to fire the muscle and go, as quickly as it physically can.
When you say you're doing 225 as fast as you can, are you doing multiple reps, or are you just going for ones, just explode? Or
I'll do a couple of those. It's not I'm not rushing. I'm not racing. I'll just I'll do it and then put it down and then get ready and then do it again, So
this show's primarily it started as a CrossFit show, and CrossFitters were, that's what they'll do. They'll sit and do, sets of 10 of whatever it is, and then do
Yeah,
another exercise. Yeah.
what's it called? EMOM on the
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah. Every minute
Yeah.
on the minute. Yeah. And, a lot of people poo poo on that because they're like, oh, you get hurt like that. But these guys that are really good at it, they're great athletes. They're not going to get hurt. They're really good at what they do, and they're efficient in that movement. But I always thought when I did this, when I got into CrossFit about 12 years ago, I was like, oh God, I wish I had this when I was younger, because I think this would
Mm-hmm.
have helped me. Especially, I wasn't Olympic weightlifting. We were doing powerlifting type stuff, and we also, I went in the gym and was like, okay, I'll do this until the coach turns his back, and then I'll leave.
Leaves. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't.
I was like that in high school.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
then, it was like, I got some natural ability. I don't need this shit. And now I look back, I'm like, oh God, I wish I spent more time in there, and like how important it is. Did Ryan Flaherty have you doing the hex bar deadlifts?
Oh, of course. That's still in my program.
Yeah.
Hex bar deadlift, box squats, drop jumps, single leg squat, wall sits, all that stuff still in the program, just because I like the way it makes me feel. And I think the science behind it is very sound in the sense that those main muscle movers that you use in those exercises are the ones that we use when we sprint.
Yeah.
Like especially hex bar deadlift, right? Like it's more quad dominant, depending on where you load, because you can be a little more upright. But you have to involve your glutes. You have to involve your core, your low back, your hamstring at the very bottom of it when you start to pull. So I think it's a great exercise, and I think all that stuff is important. And even you mentioned the CrossFit mentality of like doing things on the minute. I think that's okay as well. It's just like any training program, you have to work into it. Right, like maybe if you're used to doing 200 pounds for 10 is okay, but then you wouldn't expect yourself to go from 200 to 300 pounds for like doubles and be okay, and vice versa.
Right.
Like
Right.
you're gonna have some like either risk of injury or some soreness. Like if I just went to your gym and did CrossFit with you, like I'm a great athlete, I'm in great shape, but I would be sore as heck the next day because my body's just literally not
Not
used to
built for it. Right.
that. So you got to kind of, like you said, you got to build up into it. And I think any programming can be very like a wide variety for a lot of athletes in terms of like what they like and what their body responds to the most. But you also have to like ramp up into it. Like when I start lifting, I'm doing similar to what you're talking about. I'll do like 4 sets of 5 or 4 sets of 8 clean, right, lighter weight, and just kind of like go through the motion, even maybe clean and jerk or clean and push press or whatever.
Do you do snatches at all?
Yeah, I do snatches. Yeah, clean and jerk, snatch, overhead squat, push press, push
Oh,
jerk.
wow. You really, and do you have like an Olympic weightlifting coach that you work with, or just your
Uh,
coach?
yeah. So my coach has a pretty good eye of what it should look like, and that comes from Jimmy Radcliffe, was my strength and conditioning coach at Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the pioneer of the Russian plyometric based training.
Mm-hmm.
So like when he actually was doing that along like the 80s and the 90s at Oregon, and then it's become really popular lately. Obviously, that's like the only way to train if you want to be fast, right? It's like lift heavy and jump a lot.
Yep.
Um,
It's
so
funny.
yeah,
It's
that's pretty
funny.
much what I do.
Even in CrossFit, these guys, there's all these workouts out there that guys do, and then they become the best CrossFitter in the world, or whatever. Or you think they become the best CrossFitter in the world, but what you don't realize is the guys that are the best are working on cardio. Like whatever they have to do cardio, but for the most part, they're doing Olympic weightlifting. They're just doing heavy Olympic weightlifting, and that makes them really, really good CrossFitters. So, uh, but you said you're doing football and track at the same time. So do the football workouts at all with all the lateral movement and everything? Is that affecting your hurdling ability, or I mean, is it?
I actually think it's helpful. I think that the things I do in football in terms of running around and cutting made me the athlete I was my whole life. And I think getting back into that has kind of like,
Helped you?
I was super sore when I started, like my adductors, my glutes, and stuff like that, lower leg, calf, shins, and stuff running routes. But now that I'm not having any more pain, I think it's like I don't think it could hurt as long as I can stay healthy. And then just the football mentality of like just competing is like something I've always thrived on, right? Like that's just like that is the number one thing in football is like is you versus a guy. So yeah, I think it's been going pretty well.
All right, you're gonna hate this question. If you had to only do one, track,
If I had to only do one,
track
oh
or football,
man,
had to.
had to. Well, it's kind of like a little bit skewed because I've had a really good track career, so I think I'd probably just like retire and try to play football.
Are you chasing that Olympic gold medal though?
Yeah, no, for sure. That's still the goal, and I think I'm 27, so I got probably at least two more Olympics in me.
That's awesome.
Hansel Parcher won, the last Olympics. He's 32 now, or 31 or 32. Like he's still one of the greatest hurdlers in the history of the sport. So I think I still got a lot of good years in me, and I know realistically the football window is closing more quickly than the track window. So this is kind of the reason why I'm like jumping on this opportunity as much as I am.
Why the Eagles? Why did that end up being the team?
It was a pretty whirlwind like experience. Did my pro day actually. The Eagles and Howie Roseman reached out within probably 20 minutes of finishing pro day, and I talked to them, and they were interested in signing me pretty much right away. I didn't have an agent at the time, so I was like, oh, "Give me a sec. Let me hire an agent, like figure out, get an idea how all this works." And yeah, once that happened, my agent kind of went through a few other teams. A few other teams were interested, and like, hey, like, you want to have them come out and do a workout, or we want to meet them at least, or whatever. And then the Eagles came back again, like, hey, we really, it just, the way Howie was communicating with my agent was like, hey, like the Eagles are the team that wants you here. It's like, it's like having a wife or a girlfriend. Like you want somebody that wants you,
True.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So like, and it feels good, right? So like the Eagles reached out right away, and they were kind of in contact with me like every other day for that week, and be like, hey, like we want you to come out on Wednesday night, and if you can get here Thursday, like we'll do a physical and we'll sign you on Thursday, like less than
Wow.
1 week after my pro day. And I was like, I talked to my agent, he was like, that's a good opportunity because one, you want to go to a place where you're welcome, like and feel welcome, and then two, you want to go to a place where you feel like you can compete. And I think they're going to give me a good opportunity to compete for a spot and to play, and contribute however I can.
And you're also going to be playing with an incredible quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, our offense, to be honest, like, and it's kind of hard because I haven't been around any other NFL offenses, and I've only played. And my highest level was college before. Although my college football team was pretty good, we played
Yeah.
in the national championship. Um, Yeah, like Jalen Hurts is an amazing quarterback. Our receiver room, excuse me, our receiver room is probably one of the best in the NFL. We just signed AJ Brown. We got Devontae Smith, Heisman Trophy winner. We got Quez Watkins, Jalen Rieger, Zach Pascal, Greg Ward, Deion Kane, and then we had a whole bunch of rookies and young guys that just came in and just signed with the team. Brayton Covey, the punt return phenom and receiver from Utah, Carrick Whitfield from Fresno State, the leading receiver there. Like, so when you have in the NFL, I'm starting to realize this is like it's all the best guys from their teams. Like
Yeah.
literally the best receivers from every team is there, right?
Yeah.
So like these guys are great. I'm watching and learning from these guys every day, and it feels interesting because I'm the young, I'm the rookie, but I'm like one of the oldest, and I'm not really that old, but I'm one of the oldest in the room. But it is cool to like just pick their brains and learn from them and be like, all right, this is what makes these guys great.
How many years have you been off from football?
5. So
Okay.
if I didn't play this year, it would have been 6. But this season will be 5 years away. So this is my 6th year.
Is your specialty? Are you deep threat, or are you? Is that? I mean, just because of your speed, or are you? You can make all the cuts and go over the middle. What's your thing?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that I'm going to be used as a deep threat, just because that's my skill set.
No one can catch you.
But here's the thing: my goal is to be a well-rounded, all-around receiver, right? Like
Right.
I want to run good routes. Like if I could run routes like Hunter Renfrow and Devontae Smith, like I would love to do that, right? And that's what I'm going to be working towards and trying to learn. And then on top of that, I enjoy, kick returning and punt returning, and actually do enjoy running down on punt and kickoff and trying to make a tackle as well. So I think I can contribute on that side of the ball as well. I'm just in my mindset, I just want to play football. I don't really care what I'm doing. If they said, Devin, we want you to play safety, I'd be like, shoot, let's do
That's
it.
awesome.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Philadelphia, wait till you see. They've got a fun town of fans.
Oh, I
The
know. I can feel it. I felt it already. It's
I grew
awesome though. I love it. I love it.
I grew up in Pittsburgh, and Steeler fans are the most awesome fans in the world, and they're but Philly they're insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done sports radio for years, and know a lot of sports radio guys, and we talk about it. There's not a crazier fan base in the world than the Philadelphia
Yeah.
Eagles. So
For sure.
they're going to be fun.
No, I agree. I've heard about it. I went to the Sixers game when they were in the playoffs, and I was like, wow, these guys are into it.
Yeah. So I don't understand. Have you been training out of Oregon mostly?
No, I've been training out of Annapolis, Maryland.
Annapolis with your coach. Okay.
Yeah, my coach. Yep.
Because I was like, how are you going from Oregon to Philly, then going to like do these meets in Europe? And I mean, like, I thought
Well,
I
yeah,
had
I
a
mean, I
crazy
travel a
schedule.
lot, but I travel a lot, but I'm based in Annapolis, Maryland.
Okay. So Annapolis is where you train. Uh, and I was going to say, not the best because of the weather, but I guess you do a lot of indoor training. And then,
Yeah, we have great facilities there. I mean, it's a Naval Academy. It's a military university, so like they don't skimp on the money in terms of facilities like track, weight room, all that stuff is the best state of the art.
so do you train with the team, with the Navy track team?
Sometimes, so I am a coach there too.
Oh, I
I'm an
didn't know
assistant
that.
coach. Yeah, I help Jamie out with the sprinters and the hurdlers as well. And in some of the days, especially like hurdle days, I'll just jump in with the guys. And we have some great hurdlers. We have a hurdler named Vermeer Vic who ran 1370 this year, and that's he was just out of making the NCAA championship final. Like he made NCAA regionals, but making it to Eugene by one place. And he's only a sophomore, and he's a great starter. So like doing like block starts with him is really good. Like because early in the season he'll be smoking me, and then as I get better in shape and kind of tune up, it'll be a really good competition, and so that's great. And we have a lot of awesome kids. Just a lot of awesome like athletes and people that like to compete at the Naval Academy. You could assume that like that like gritty mentality is like a
Sure, sure.
midshipman. So I just love being around that because they get after like Jamie put some of the like the 400-meter runners like do some crazy workouts and they're just like, all right, let's do it. I'm like, more power to you.
Yeah.
I said I
I
would never do that. I wouldn't do
I
that to you. That's what I tell the guys. I say, hey, if I was your coach, I wouldn't make you do that.
I used to hate the 400 more than anything, and our coach used to do it sometimes at practice. I had a coach named Steve Lewis who coached Roger Kingdom and coached. We had Brett Shields. We had a lot of guys. A couple guys who played for the Steelers, and we when I was at Pitt, we had a pretty good 4x100 team that all the guys went NFL. We had Anthony Dorsett, Jay Jones, Dietrich Gels, and who was the other one? I think we had a fourth, but our coach would do this thing where he'd be like upperclassmen against lowerclassmen, four by 400,
Yeah, I love it.
and he'd be like, whoever wins doesn't have to practice. And it was like the only time I'd run as hard as I could
Yeah,
because I just wanted to get out of practice that day.
just
I did
go home.
everything.
That's nice.
I hated practice more than anything in the world. And it's weird because I'm so into CrossFit now and I work out constantly. And I'm like, why do I do this? I hated this. Like, I don't compete ever anymore in anything, but
Mm-hmm.
I like to work out. And I'm like,
You just love training, yeah.
yeah, I wish I had it when I was younger. I wish I had it. Like, it sounds like but you get that, that 100 thing and that, so you don't have to go out and do those. Give me like, you still have to keep that, uh, like to keep that strength for like the end of the 100 meters. So when you're running sprints, what's the longest sprints you'll run?
So now my hardest workout will probably be like 250, 200, 180, 150, and I'll do that I'll do that a few times a year. It's kind of like an indicator test for me, like just to see where my fitness is.
So what do it be? Give me it again, because people on this
Two,
show, people
yeah,
listen love to
250
nerd out.
meters. Yeah, 250-meter sprint, maybe a 200 or a 180, and then a 150.
And you're going all
So
out on those,
more or less, so like the 250 is going to be like 90% in order
right?
to run the 180 and 150 at a high level. So my 250, I'll probably run like 27 seconds. I could probably tell you if it'll take me a sec to go through my log because I haven't done the workout in a while, but probably 27 seconds, and then the 180, I'll probably run anywhere between like 19.5 and 20 seconds, flat for that. And then the 150, I'll probably run close to 15 flat
That's
for the
interesting.
last
So
effort in my workout.
you're not running any 400s ever,
Try not to. I avoid it. I
just because
avoid it as much as I can.
you don't like it, or you don't think it could assist you in any way.
So here's the philosophy, and I think this is a good lesson for maybe some young athletes to think about training. Is you have to have an overall goal, right? And my goal as a hurdler is to be a good hurdler technician and to be fast. When I do a 400-meter workout, just think about this, and when you train too. Say on Monday you did 3x400 or 3x300, right? You just like toasted it. When do you feel good again? Really, probably like Wednesday or Thursday,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like Tuesday, you're probably like, Wednesday, you're still kind of like, eh. So that's kind of like the balance. It was like, all right, do I do one hard like sprint intensity with like a little bit more volume and then one hurdle day a week, or do I do like some 60s, some 30s, like something short and fast, and then the next day I can hurdle and then take an off day, and then the next day I can hurdle again and then take an off day, and then I can do like maybe finish the 7-day week with like a couple of 90s, a 120, and a 150. So like then you can kind of like you can get that same volume, right? If you're thinking about 900 meters, 3x300 is 900 meters. I can get the same volume distance wise, and running 60, 90, 120 on one day, and then going 3x60, 3x30, 3x90, right? It's similar volume, but now like my nervous system is not as shot, and I don't feel like as like running 60 meters, fast is difficult, but like you're not like you finish that workout, like you guys all right.
You keep
So
saying
that's my
nervous.
philosophy.
You keep saying nervous system, and I think that's so underestimated by everyone. I don't think anybody realizes how important that is. That your CNS, that like you give that recovery, and people just think, oh, I can grind it out, and it's like you can, but you don't understand. You're frying yourself, and that like your muscles might be okay, but your CNS is not okay. And I've had so many people burn out with that, where they're like, oh man, and I've done it myself, where I felt like, do I need electrolyte? What's going on right now? Why am I, feeling like these like, you know, tremors and stuff going on in my body? And it's like, cause you fried yourself. Like you just pushed it too hard without
Yeah.
enough recovery. And it's interesting that like you've kind of figured that out, that not less is more, but the zone to be in, to be as fast as
Better
you
is
are.
better is better.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the motto.
And like talking to you, it's like I've read so much and heard from so many, but like I'm talking to you, who nobody knows better. You've run the third fastest time in the world, so whatever you say to me is the new Bible, and it's amazing, because I would have thought you're a little more all over the place. To hear, when you were a little kid, what was it that you were so good at? Like, did they know right away that you were fast, or were you just like a highly athletic kid in every sport you did, or what was it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was faster than everybody, and then just good at pretty much the sports I did play.
And what did you
Right.
play as a
So
little kid?
baseball, basketball, volleyball, soccer, ping pong,
Everything. Super competitive.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything that there's a season for. I played it.
And were your parents like super athletes or anything? Was there any
Yeah, my
rhyme or
parents
reason
were
to?
athletic. My
Yeah.
dad played high school football and baseball, and then played in the minors for just like a super short time in baseball. My mom didn't like do any sports per se, but she's athletic. She's tall. My family's tall and like fit. Um, so you know how that goes. Sometimes you just don't. you don't get into a sport, but you're still like athletic. You're like, damn, this person, like, I'm sure you see that in CrossFit all the time. Like, what do you do? Like, nothing. I never played any sports. I just
Yeah, there's a lot
do
of those
CrossFit.
guys.
Like, I'm a good athlete.
Yeah, there's
So,
a lot of CrossFitters that are just gym rats. That were just guys in the gym a lot. But occasionally you'll find a guy, and I usually think they're pretty good. Where you get a guy like Rich Froning, who was for a time the very best CrossFitter in the world.
yeah, I know.
Rich is a great athlete. He can
Oh,
do.
100%.
He can play football, baseball. Somebody told me anything you play with the guy, he'll be the best out there. And I think that contributes to it. And I've always said a lot of times it's hard to bring the football player into CrossFit. Like they do well in all the explosive stuff, but anytime there's anything endurance added to it, they blow out because they don't have the engine. And we've seen that with some guys that are just, football players where they come in and it's like, oh, this guy's going to crush everyone. But all of a sudden they don't because they don't have that wide range over all of those different attributes of fitness. They just have the power and explosiveness. But yeah,
Yeah, that's where
usually,
I would be. That's
yeah,
where I would be. I'd blow up. So,
yeah, someone more
okay.
like a middle distance guy or a 400 runner
Yeah, put on some
would have
mass.
those
Yeah.
different energy pathways and be able to that's who would, or even a miler, 800 or miler, but they would also have to put on that weight. You're pretty big for a hurdler, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm 6'1", 190.
That
So I'm a solid build. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm like ginormous, but I also am definitely not small.
I would think you'd
So
be the biggest guy out there.
weight wise, yes, for sure,
Yeah, yeah.
100%. Yeah,
But again, it's like when people saw Hussein, they were like, "Oh, this guy, he's too
too
tall to
big.
be a sprinter." So, he's kind of changed the direction of it, and it's kind of the same with you, where it's like, "Hey, maybe all this strength that you have, and that you probably put on for football, has attributed to your strength over the hurdles, and made attributed to your speed."
Yeah, and I think it's really just where I feel good at because I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I went to college and got up to 210 pounds at one point. 208 was the heaviest I got, and then I've also been at a point where I weighed 170. Trying to run track and stuff. And I just and
Do,
both I did okay, but like this like area 185 to 190 and like strong and like pretty like like lifting a lot and all that is where I kind of feel good. And I think that all goes to like what you were talking about in terms of not even body type, but just what makes specific athletes good, right? Distance runner is always going to be skinny. It's just because the science behind it, right? You do that much, you burn that many calories, you do that much um, like aerobic capacity stuff. You just literally can't build muscle. Your muscles is just going to waste away,
yeah,
doing that.
yeah, yeah.
And vice versa. For me, I'm not doing anything like a miler, right? So like any muscle I do build and put on will probably hang on there for a while unless I just completely stop lifting.
Do you eat a pretty clean diet?
Very clean. Yeah, that's probably
Yeah.
one of the things I've changed over the last few years. Pretty strict during the season, like in terms of just like being consistent. I wouldn't even say strict. It's just like the things I do eat is like so easy to fuel your body, right? Like high protein, breakfast with a lot of fruit. Like I like don't preach enough about like how much fruit and stuff I eat. Like that energy source is pretty elite in terms of calories and like quick energy and like just sustaining energy. Like so, like when I'll eat a whole bunch of fruit, like a big bowl of fruit, and an apple, and a banana, and an orange, and then like 4 eggs and some bacon and an avocado for breakfast, and then go out to train. Come back home and I'll have another bowl of fruit, an apple, and orange, and then like a pound of deli turkey. And then for dinner I'll have like some berries, a sweet potato, some veggies of some sort, and some a fish and steak and stuff like that as well. Like pretty very very clean in terms of
Yeah.
just what I'm eating, but the volume is up there because one, I'm training a lot, and two, like everything's so clean, like my body's gonna use it for something.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds a little carnivore-ish. The carnivore diet. I was talking to somebody the other day about it because I'm going to have a guy on the show because I eat pretty much a paleo diet, and that was kind of preached in the CrossFit world. But now I'm more ketogenic and just eat my carbs when I need to like work out. But I was talking to the guy about carnivore? And he's like, yeah, just eating meat all day. I'm like, well, where? He's like, yeah, but I eat fruit too. He's like, I eat the fruit. I eat a lot of fruit. And then I eat the meat. And I was like, okay, I'm like, what about your veggies? And he's like, nah, no need.
Yeah, I mean, I eat a little bit of veg, so I would say, yeah, it's probably like 80. If I'm carnivore, I'm probably like 70, 80% of that.
Yeah.
Because I probably eat a sweet potato every day. I do eat a lot of potatoes. I think just in general, as like my carb source, potatoes and rice, and then I'll do some spinach, like in a smoothie maybe. I do like some of the like veggies, like Brussels sprouts. I like Brussels sprouts a lot. I'll do that, and like broccoli and broccolini, and that's pretty. Like I just go to the store and get the same veggies every week. So, you know, not I won't eat them for every meal, but I'll eat like a package of broccoli a week and a package of Brussels sprouts a week, and like 6 sweet potatoes. Throughout the week. Maybe I have like two or three potatoes in a day. Depending on how I feel.
But back in the day, like I'm a lot older than you. When I was running, guys were eating like McDonald's and Burger King, and I was like, and even then, I was like, what are you doing? You're an elite athlete. Why are you eating this trash? And it was like college, everyone's poor and we're talking guys that all American and stuff like that. But I just looked at their diet like, what are you doing? Like, why would you put that
Yeah.
trash in your body? And I think it makes a huge difference now. Showing like where you can go. Isn't it hard though when you travel as much as you do to get the good food that you need?
It depends. So training for track, the track community is a little bit more anal about that. And so when we get to meets like this, like I got to the check-in, and the first thing they had like a whole bunch of bottles of water. There's bananas on the counter, apples and grapes.
That's
Like,
great.
right, great snack. And then the kind of the meals they have for us are very clean in general, right? Like they have it's a wide spread, so you can kind of pick what you want.
And
Football, those guys are a little bit more like you said. They kind of eat whatever. But yeah, like for me, I would never go and eat McDonald's or whatever. It just no offense to McDonald's. If they want to sponsor me, maybe we can talk. But I'm nothing against McDonald's in general. I just wouldn't eat fast food really at
ever?
all. Like I feel like I was telling my coach this actually. We were in the airport like 2 weeks ago, and people were like, it was like 6 a.m. and people were waiting in line at McDonald's, and I was like, I just could not imagine eating McDonald's at 6 a.m. Like I would like how I would feel would be like.
Let
And
me.
that's just maybe I've been eating so clean so long that like I just get like sick to my stomach. Actually, after my 1284, I went to a diner like near my hotel, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a burger. So I had a burger, and that was fine, and had some fries, which was okay, probably something I wouldn't eat normally. And then I had a big chocolate milkshake, and I don't do a lot of dairy as well, and my stomach like was feeling crazy that night. I was
Yeah.
like, that's a good lesson. Like I probably shouldn't even, as much as I want to celebrate a fast time and enjoy a cheat meal, like my body is not ready for that.
Well, let me tell you what I've been doing. I've been doing 30 days of eating McDonald's. I probably haven't eaten McDonald's in 15 years, and the head of the owner of CrossFit Malibu, where I live, had this theory that if you ate the healthier versions, that you could maintain health. And so we did blood tests and DEXA scans and all this stuff on my body. And I'm in about 21 or 22 days in
Oh
where I've
wow.
only eaten McDonald's. And I could show you my refrigerator right now. I like come home with like $35 worth of McDonald's. I take all the bread off of everything. I put it so I've like just chicken, just burger patties, and I've lost a bunch of body fat. I've because I probably wasn't eating as clean as I should have before, and I'm a pretty good eater, but I'd gone off the
Yeah.
rails a little bit, and but just eating. I'm pretty ketogenic right now. I'm not eating any carbs, and I'm losing all this weight. and and we're gonna see though when I get my blood tests next week. We'll see if my inflammation's up, and we'll do my C-reactive protein and everything, and my hormones too. That could be
Yeah.
all thrown off. So it's going to be a very interesting experiment that we did.
I'll have to check in with you. I think That's pretty amazing what you're doing, and I think it also will probably prove a good point that your body's pretty resilient, and it just
Yeah.
kind of like whatever you put it through, it's going to adjust and be fine. So I think right, like you're eating McDonald's, and your body after you probably felt weird for a few days, and
The
now
first the
you feel
first day
fine.
I felt so sick when I ate my
Yeah,
first meal of it, and I was just like, oh my God, that's the worst thing I've ever put in me. And I was like, I right away called the guys. I go, I don't think we're going to be able to do this. I said, I can't eat
yeah,
this every meal. And now
yeah.
it's gotten kind of easy. My body's adapted, which I think we
Well,
are.
yeah, I agree with you on that. I think just like before I started eating so healthy, I probably ate junk and I felt fine.
Yeah.
Like I
Uh,
like I wouldn't even go to like a gas station and get like a bag of chips. Like the snack I get my go-to snack like on a travel thing is like if I can find some fruit, great. But if like worst thing, I'll get sunflower seeds and just like snack on those. Like because like last time I had chips, I'm just like
yeah. And now, when's the last time you had a beer
oh, I had a beer. Same meal as a burger.
to
A couple of
celebrate?
beers. Yeah, a couple of Blue Moons. Shout out
That's
Blue Moon.
That's amazing. I mean, I would wonder what that. I always like to see athletes after they accomplish something like that, and like that's an amazing accomplishment. And but to hear that you did, you went to a diner, and you were in that was New York, right?
That was in New York. The one thing I will say to kind of give myself a little bit of a leeway is I had breakfast at like 10 or 11 o'clock before I ran, and I ran at 4, so I hadn't eaten. Like we had that dinner at like 9 p.m., so I hadn't eaten since 10 o'clock. So like that's kind of why I got to the diner, and I was already so hungry that like your body was like, oh, just whatever junk. So I just burger, fries, milkshake, beers. So
But you're in Europe a lot because people don't understand, especially people listening to this show, that track and field, it's a staple in American like high school, college sports, but professionally, track's huge over in Europe.
oh, I
And
love it. Yep.
yeah, like you guys fill stadiums over there. I mean,
Yeah, I mean this Oslo Stadium I think is like 40,000. It'll be full.
that's
Yeah, it'll be
amazing.
full for the race. Yep.
That's what I hated about college track. I would go to the meets and I'm like, where are the fans? And they're like, there aren't any.
Yeah.
and I would go to
What
all these
fans?
I'd go to all these invitationals and they're like, yeah, this is it's just us. And
Yeah, I mean I got spoiled at Oregon.
oh yeah, because it's a popular sport there. It's like
Yeah.
you went Oregon. What is it? What is it? Oregon, Georgia, LSU. Who else
Yeah,
is?
Texas, Florida.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
and Oregon had a great football team, so you were spoiled. You were very
100%.
spoiled. But so when you go to Europe, what about finding food over there?
I usually so I get creative. So my manager that I travel with, Robbie Hughes, he actually has come to all these places before, and so like tonight we went to Thai food. He's like, "Oh, there's this Thai restaurant. It's amazing." So we went there, and it was great.
Yeah,
Um, but mostly I'll eat in the hotels, like whatever the meat provides us. Like I said, the options are pretty widespread. So like if I want to eat super clean, like I can just have like some fruit and some rice and some chicken and fish and some veggies and call it a day and eat as much as I want of it, right? So
Oslo loves. I've done stand up comedy in Oslo. I did a whole tour through Scandinavia. They love fingerling potatoes for some reason. They put it with every meal they fed me. I was like,
hey,
what's
I
with
do
you?
too. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that then.
When's your meet? When are you running?
I run on Thursday. So yeah, I got in this morning. I flew from New York on Monday, and it got me in 9 a.m. Tuesday, and then I slept all day, and so today's still Tuesday for me. It's 10 p.m. actually, which is crazy. Like I'm gonna turn my camera. Look how bright it is outside.
Oh yeah, I forgot it's like that over
Yeah,
there.
yeah. It's not
Yeah,
gonna get dark.
I've had that in Alaska. Well, I just read a thing. I don't know if you've ever listened to the Huberman podcast.
Hmm.
He's this guy that he's a doctor at the Stanford researcher, and he knows everything about everything. And he was just talking about resetting your circadian rhythm. And I think it takes two times of watching the sunrise and the sunset, and you're back on to normal. And it's like the best way
Hmm.
to get you back because I'm always freaked out when I have to tour, and I'm in a different. I go to Australia a lot to do shows, and when I get there, I'm so messed up. It's worse when I come back from Australia. It's not as bad when I go.
Hmm.
It's terrible when I come
Yeah,
back.
going west to east is worse.
Yeah, it it destroys me. And I have a family, and I come back, and my kids are like, "Come on, Dad," and I'm like, ugh. So
Yeah.
I just read this thing. I'm going to go listen to the podcast about it, about resetting by like all you have to do is see the sunrise and sunset, and it's like you're back on. And because I hate that. I can't imagine having to like compete because like I just have to perform on stage, and it's not that physical.
Yeah.
But to having to compete with dealing with that throws in a different wrench. Uh, but my last question for you is, when you like, my coach always used to talk to me about peaking, and I would suck at the beginning of the year, and all these guys would be killing me, and he'd be like, relax, relax, you'll see, you'll see, and by the end of the year, I was beating everybody when it mattered. Are you training to peak, and do you feel like right now you've still got a lot left to keep going?
Yeah, so I'm gonna answer that question in a sec. I'm gonna give like you my little jet lag advice. Especially for what I do, right? You have to be and you're a stand-up comedian, so you're gonna be performing 4 hours a night, maybe if you do 2 shows. Um, I always just tell all the young guys when they come over here, just sleep when you're tired. Like you'd rather like not be tired and like be up all night and then like
Yeah.
go to sleep during the day and then like, okay, I gotta get up and go compete and kind of be like fresh-ish as opposed to like trying to like fight the sleep and then you go to sleep finally, but then you're on jet lag, so then you get up at 2 a.m. and you're up for 6 hours and you go back to sleep and then you really didn't get any sleep as opposed to like quality stuff. So yeah, just sleep when you're tired. That's my advice. But to answer your question, peaking, I think for me, it's not so much peaking, it's just feeling fresh and being in shape. So I guess the biggest thing is like fitness wise, I'm probably the best shape I've been in my life. So that's a good start. And then now it's just all about one being sharp in the event, like the hurdles. It takes a lot of races to feel good. I'm sure you probably felt the same. Like, you hurdled all year, and then towards the end of the year, you're like, okay, I got the rhythm down. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the same for us. And even like race tempo reps, because like you can only do so much in practice. Like you can only mimic it so much. Um, which is why I'm over in Europe, about 15 days before 12 days before USA champs. Um, because I think it's more important to one, just kind of rest. Like I raced, I took Monday off, I took today off, I did a light warm up out tomorrow. I'll pre-meet and then I'll race and take a day off and then I'll race and then I'll fly back and then I'll kind of be off until USA. So I'm pretty much not doing any like intense volume, just like the most intense volume, right? Just like intensity as opposed to like racing, right?
Sure.
So racing is going to be my workout, and then being fresh is just my main goal. And I think by the time you get to USA's and then Worlds is 2.5 weeks after that, the biggest thing is just feeling good. Like if you're in good shape and you feel good, you're going to put yourself in a good position to do that. And I think there's a peaking component. Like my volume in training has gone way down in terms of just how much I'm doing, how many days I'm training, and stuff like that as well, which is pretty much a built-in peak.
How many meets are you running a year?
Usually I like to run in about 20 races, 20, 30 races.
And how many of
So
those are
like
indoor, and how many are outdoor?
usually about 5 or 6 indoors, and then the rest, maybe up to 10 indoors, depend if I have a full indoor season, but then 20 outdoors. And I think I'm at like 8 or 9 events. Excuse me, 8 or 9 events right now.
So you have that, and then when does it end? When does track season end that you get to like throw yourself into football?
July 17th is World Champs, so that'll be the final day, and then I'll be done. Then I
And
got to
then when
report to camp on the 26th of
26th of
July.
July.
Yeah.
That's early. I didn't know you guys report that early. Well, I mean, I'm already a fan of the Eagles because my father-in-law played for them, and I got to, be with him when that was all going on, when they got the Super Bowl, and I'm a Steelers fan foremost, but Eagles are number 2 for me now, and so I'll be watching you. I'm cheering for you, and I think you're going to break that world record. I mean, I'm sure of it. So I think that's incredible, and I want to see you win a gold medal. So that, and I have something to tell you that's really important. We used to have a thing called the Wodcast bump. And it was that whenever people would go on this show, afterwards, all this good stuff would happen. So I think you got it.
Yeah. Well, shoot, I'll be on every week then. I'll see you next week.
So when you get that gold medal or when you get that world record, I want you to get up there and be like, I just want to thank the Wodcast podcast because I know it was all them that did this.
Yeah. We have to do a retweet or a repost and just put this clip in here. This clip here.
Let me ask you this. One last thing. Any advice for a younger athlete?
Advice for a younger athlete. Play as many sports as you can and make a lot of friends because that's what makes the sports more fun when you can do it with people you enjoy, like being around and training like that. We sometimes we focus so much on the training we forget to walk around, Oslo and enjoy like downtown Oslo and cool places we go to and meet new people and then hang out with the people that we compete against and be friends. So I think that's really important.
Do you hang out with any of your competitors?
Yeah, often. Me, Grant, and Daniel are really good friends, and we're also the Americans, so we see each other a lot. And then in Europe as well, some of the guys like Andy Posey, David King, the British guys. And I say that like the Jamaicans too because they speak English. The first language. Not that the other guys don't speak English, but their English is either not so good or it's just kind of broken. So we communicate as well as we can, and we're friendly to each other.
It's back in like I said, 2000. I started touring the world doing stand-up comedy, and one of the greatest things was getting to meet comedians all over the world, and I've made friends with them, and a lot of them come back here and become famous in America then, and it's just great. I have these lifelong friendships. And what you said, your advice you gave, is every book I've read on parenting athletes has said, play every sport, don't specialize, and also make it about the friendships and the fun. And because when you win, you get that record or you win that event, that's ephemeral. That only lasts for a few seconds and a few minutes. But like the lifetime, the whole experience of the training and the being around your buddies and the teammate experiences and stuff like that, that's where the lifelong enjoyment is.
Most
so
important.
it's nice to hear you say that. And it's an honor to have had you on the show. I got to tell you, I've been a fan. I've been watching you. I don't know how I found you on Instagram, but I was like, oh, this guy's good. This guy's gonna.
It worked out.
I've been watching you for years. I've been bugging you too to be on the show, and you were like blowing me off. And then you saw that video of my kids, and you were like, okay, that's funny.
Yeah, I love that. No, I did love that, and to be honest, you make a good point. And I said that to like some of the people in my DMs that ask me questions and all this stuff. It's just depends on the mood I'm in, really. Like some kids will send me videos of them hurdling, and I'll go through like a full 2-paragraph of critique. And sometimes I'll just ignore it. I'm not like it's not like I'm a bad person. It's just like sometimes I'm just
dude,
I do appreciate you reaching out again. Yeah.
You're a busy person. I get the same thing. I get guys sending me their stand up all the time and or scripts and can you help me? Can you give me advice? And sometimes I have time, sometimes I don't. And I give as much as I can because I want to give back, but you also have to focus on what you're doing because there'll be time later for you to take care of other people. And it sounds like you already are, but just I need to see you, catching those touchdown passes and then going, thank you, Wodcast.
Yeah, thanks to the Wodcast. No, I appreciate you for having me on. Thanks for
you'll be living.
Thanks for being patient too. I was an hour late, just to know all the fans know.
That's okay. So you're gonna be living in Philly then, or are you gonna be living in Annapolis and going to Philly?
No, I'll be living in Philly.
All right. Well, when I'm there at Helium or Punchline, I'll send you a message. You come out to one of my shows.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be awesome. I'd love to. Actually, I'm a big stand-up comedy fan. Most recently, I've been really obsessed with Chris DiStefano.
Chris is great. Chris is really funny. Yeah.
So he's great. And then I actually listen to his podcast as well. So Sal from the Impractical Jokers and those guys too. I like
he does that podcast with Joe DeRosa, a good friend of mine.
Yep.
That's
Taste Buds.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's hilarious.
I've heard that one too. But yeah, so I would love to come to a show if you're in town.
Well, when you're in New York, you should have gone to Joe, who's on Taste Buds, owns his own. He owns his own sandwich place in New York City.
Oh, damn. All right, I'll go. I'll have to look that up. And I actually, now that you said that, I've heard them talking about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, those guys are all buddies of mine. So definitely, when I get to Philly, I'll let you know. Oh, in fact, I'm there in July. But I'll send you a message.
Okay, awesome. Thanks
All
for
right.
having me.
Hey, thanks for doing the show and good luck.
For sure.
All right.
All right.